Alright, good morning, class. Welcome to today's lesson, which is creating wireframes, low fidelity wireframes in Figma. So, let's go on. So, I already have a wireframe template prepared here for us, right? But today we'll be designing it one by one. As you can see, it is detailed. It's a detailed sketch wireframe. All right. In our last class, we discussed on wireframe, right? So we said wireframe is the sketch form, the rough form of our work. Yeah, refined, but rough, right? So now I want to ask a question. Yeah, it's going to be an assignment for you guys, but a question, right? So I think I'll ask it at the end of the class. First, let's focus on the lesson of today. So today we'll be recreating every single thing you're seeing here, but not all. So we'll go for the first screens we have here, the first line of screens. So let's get into it. So this is a mobile wireframe. We have different type of wireframes. We have wireframes for your phone, Android. We have wireframe for iOS. We have wireframe for your website. We have wireframes for web apps. We have wireframes for basically different screens, your laptops, your desktop, whatever thing you want it to be, you can have your wireframe of your product. So to create a wireframe, I told you it's a rough sketch. Let's say we are working with a product, right? And the product is about selling or a verification type of app for sending money, whatever it is, right? Let's just say this is basically our rough wireframe to start with. So the first thing we're going to start with is this screen. So in design, product design, the first screen is always called the splash screen. Well, the splash screen is your intro screen. You know those animation you used to see when you first open an app? Yeah, where you see the logo pop out or you see a loading kind of feeling of the logo. That's the splash screen. The next thing we always have is the onboarding screen. You ask the person a couple of questions about themselves. Maybe it's their name, maybe it's their category of things they want to use the app for. You know, that's the onboarding. And the onboarding is just not one kind of thing, it's a kind of flow, right? So we move from there. You could do your verifications, they pick whatever they like, they choose their team, and it's all loads and sets up, and they see their home screen, what they love, right? Okay, so let's move along. Let's start designing first from this. Let's recreate these wireframes. Now that we have a rough view of what we want, right, in our head, let's create a wireframe. First, remember in our last class I said you click F on your keyboard to bring out frames. This frame here, right here, F. So when I click on F, I have a selection of wireframes here, frames that I can use. So now I go to phone. and I could pick whatever phone style I want. But I like sticking to the iPhone 13 to 14 because it's scalable. Note it's scalable. So now click and it appears. So this is my phone screen, right? Notice we want an animation, right? We could do that later. So for now, to make this look like this is the fill. This is where the color white is showing. We have our stroke. Same thing, we have stroke here. So there are three things you can do about this, right? One, you can turn off the fill to make it look blended. Two, you could just click on the fill, use your eyedropper to sample the color you're seeing here. So it's blended. So in this aspect, notice that if I want to click on this, I cannot click. But because my frame has a fill here, I can click it. So this one doesn't have a fill that is active, and this one has a fill that is active. There's a difference. Now, for the stroke, let's pick a stroke from here. The color for the stroke is 00000. That's pure black. So we go back to our wireframe, go to our stroke. It's pure black. You can select as you want, draw whatever thing you want, right? But we're going to leave it because it's pure black. Now, notice that we have this and we have this, but the edges are different. Why? Why are the edges different? Because as it looks, we have 50 corner radius. So what we call this edges is the corner radius, right? So to bend our corner radius, we go down to appearance. So we go to the corner radius here and we input our number 50 and click. Now our corner radius is 50. Now notice that this line is thicker than our own, right? That's because we didn't change the sizes of our stroke width. So we click on our stroke width number and we add it by 2. Now we have a thicker version of it. So in instance, we are creating an animation for our splash screen, right? We're supposed to have one thing in common, something to show that this screen is an intro screen to an animation of the logo welcoming people to the app. So in this aspect, the person who did this wireframe used a circle in place of the logo. Shown is the wireframe. If in this aspect we are doing user research, user experience, so it's left for the UX designer, whereas the UI designer is going to refine the animation, build a solid animation for the splash screen. That's not our job. Our job in the UX format is to create the flow, create the structure. So let's get right into it. So here now, we have to put a placeholder. To put a placeholder, he used the circle, right? So let's say we use the same circle, right? We could click here to get an eclipse, or we could just click on O on our keyboard, O, and then it's there, right? So we could go straight into here, hold your shift to give yourself a very equal shaped circle. Now we have our circle. So you want to make it this size, you could come here on the layout and see the sizes. We have 45. We could go back here and click on this layout, 45. Now, notice one thing. I clicked on 45 on my width and it just changed the width and it's not looking like a circle anymore. But if I had done it this way, let me go back, Ctrl Z. I went here and I went down here to lock aspect ratio. Once I lock it, notice that we have an intersection between the two. So when I change something here, 45, it changes on the two. And now my circle looks this way. Now to centralize my circle, I go to position because as you can see, it's not centralized in the middle. So I click on the circle, go to position, and I centralize it. I go here to align it also, and now it's aligned. Look at our color is different here, and ours is different. So I go, remember, black. So now we have our splash screen. What else are we missing? The next screen, right? Where this screen is supposed to show them the category, right? Supposed to show them the category, pick what kind of category you're in or whatever thing it is you do, right? So first thing we can see in this category is a frame or box, right? We have lines indicating text. In wireframes, we don't usually use text to indicate text. We use stroke of lines like this. But this is actually a rectangle made to look like a line. So we have box of frames, which is rectangles, squares, and you get the idea. So now let's create our own to represent what we have in mind. Same thing here. So we can go here and click on the frame and we click on Command D or Control D on our keyboard and that duplicates it, right? Now let's click on the circle here and delete it. So now we have our second frame and we're trying to create this. So first off, remember what I said in our last class, arrow is for rectangle. So on your keyboard, press arrow. So when you go here and you draw your rectangle, we have something like this. And remember, what we are trying to make, it's looking small, right? The sizes of the layout is 135. That's the width, and the height is 5. So we're trying to make that same way. 135 and height is 5. Notice I didn't lock the aspect ratio so that I can be able to change between them. And now go here, scroll down, and we have it. We just had our rectangle. Do the same thing again, Control D or Command D. Now I've duplicated it. Since I've duplicated it, I can draw it down, click and draw down. You hold your shift to keep it in order, because if I'm not holding my shift, I can literally take it anywhere. If I hold my shift, I cannot move it anywhere. I can only move it straight lines, down, up, sides. All right. So now, our second rectangle here that represents the line layouts, the width is 105 and the height is 5. Right. So we go back to here, goes 105, and width height is 5. Click on enter, and now we have it there. So another thing you're supposed to look at is the spacing between it. Spaces are very important. On your keyboard, click on Alt, your Alt button close to your Control button. Or if you're using a MacBook, your Option button. Now go to the edges. Are you seeing? You will now know the exact sizes that this is farther away from this, right? So let's go to here. Notice that this is inside an auto layout, and the frame, we have an auto layout and we have an auto layout holding the rectangles. Every single thing here is grouped with its own auto layout and its own group. Remember, I said three layouts are used to organize work fast and neat. So we are going to click on our rectangle, the two, basically highlight the two, right? Notice I've highlighted the two, and I'm going to click on this button right here. It's going to toggle auto layout, or I can use Shift A on my keyboard, but let's use this toggle. Now I've toggled it. Remember, we use Alt or Option to check the size, the spacing in between. And from the looks of it, you can see that the spacing between here is 51, and the space here is 80, right? And we have 40 by the side. So here we have 63. So I'm holding my Alt so I can be seeing the numbers as I'm pressing. Clicking on my arrows to shift it. So $40. Now we have 51 up. I'm going to be clicking on my arrow down. $80. Now it's in order, right? So next we have as squares. To draw a square, you use your rectangle, arrow, and now you hold Shift to keep it in order. Hold your Shift to always keep it to be an exact square. Now we have our square, right? Now remember, we have a corner radius on this. We have a corner radius of 20. The layout width is 135 by 135. Noted. So here we go again. Either we remove or we make it blend. I like making mine blend because I might need it later. Our sizes is 135 by 135, or you can lock aspect ratio and just change it. So now we have that. We have our stroke. Remember, our stroke, it's 2. Size is 2. You can close this. Aspect ratio we checked is 20. Now we have this. So now to align it with the one we have previously, align it. Now check the sizes in between this and this, right? We have 30 in between the two of them, and here we don't have 30 in between it. You can check it here on your layouts. So now we're going to click this and then click 30. and in between it we already have a 30 space. Now we have two boxes here on this line. Control D or Command D on your keyboard. And if you check it well, in between this we have two, right? Remember, you go to check in between. On the auto layout, because this is in an auto layout, you go down to here. This is the space in between these two boxes. These two boxes, the space in between it is 25. Just keeping your cursor there shows you in between the sides. Then, since we have 25 here, we should make sure that ours, we select each and every both of them, and we click on Shift A or auto layout. Toggle it. Now we have 20 in our own, so we're going to change it to 25, right? Yeah. And notice that we have about 4 boxes, right? So let's duplicate ours again, Control D, and then we drag down, and then we click on this and click on this, and we also click again on Toggle Auto Layout. So now we have this. Now we go back to this. In between this we have 20, right? So we're gonna use 20 on this. Look at it here, we have 30 instead of 20. So we're gonna change it, and now we have 20. So next we have another line and another box. Should I create another line and another box when I already have one existing? No. So what we do is we pick this, we reuse it. Wherever we see text, we reuse it. And if it's not exactly how we want our text to be, we create another variation of it. So first we go here, and I'm going to Control D or Command D, and then you bring it down. Now remember, we need to make it align the same space in between these two. So drag it 30. Good. If you want to cross check, you click on this and click on this. You have the space in between is 30. Or you come down here on your auto layout and see it's 30. So now the boxes. We double click, and you select your box inside auto layout. Now you should duplicate, and then you drag down out of the auto layout. And now to align it, same 30, same 30. Now notice that in here we have this, 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 and this, right? Then we come closer. So we have a group of, this is an auto layout, this is an auto layout, this is an auto layout, and this is an auto layout, right? And then we have this. Now all these 4 things are grouped into one auto layout. To do that, we have the 4 already, right? We click on this, we highlight, click on this, we highlight, click on this, you highlight, click on this, you highlight. Then you go to your auto layout and toggle it. They're already on the group of the layout. I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. All right. So now we have this. I wanted to point out something. Since this frame we're looking at is not the same frame as ours, the sizes is not the same. For example, what I meant by this is the spacing at the edges is not looking at our speed at the edges. Have you noticed that? So in this case, you either stretch it to match your space, or you just centralize it so you use the spacing instead of going to the extent of spoiling what you've created, right? So we centralized it using this. So now, next on our list is the circles, showing the navigation tab, right? To create that, we check the size of one. It's 30 by 30, right? Now, we go back to our own, and we go click on what? O for circle. Now we go and log aspect ratio because we want it to equal 30, and it's going to switch to 30 30. Now we have this, and he has this. When you click on it, it's an auto layout. This symbolizes auto layout. This symbolizes group. This symbolizes rectangle. This represents eclipse. Now we have this auto layout, right? In auto layout, we have this grouping. It helps people reform, so you can freeform and move around things in your auto layout as you want to set it. Then we have the vertical, making it go straight down. It's a straight line, right? Then we have the horizontal, which we are on right now, and then we have the normal grid format. Grid format is basically if you want to like set things in grid, right? And it stays that way. And then we have this option, whereas we can wrap out things. So for example, I click on this, it can literally help rearrange stuff in order according to the frame line, right? So we are not there yet, so let's just go using the automatic horizontal. So in our space, in the spacing between this and this, we have 36, right? So what we're going to do in ours is first duplicate this one, Command D or Control D. When you duplicate, you shift and you highlight the second, the two of them, you click on Shift A or you toggle. So now that we have this two inside here, and as you can see, we have auto, it's set on auto. We are going to click this and we're going to give it 36, right? So now double click inside. Now I can literally click on Control D or Command D to duplicate more. So we have about 5 down here, and we have 5 up here. Now notice that the frame is not extending down here, and it's looking like this is out and this is in. It's because the width of the frame is set to a fixed amount, a fixed number, whereas the height is set to hug those particular content. So now we set from fixed width to hug content. That's going to, as you can see from the arrow, it's going to hug every single content inside this particular frame. So when we do hug content, it moves. So you can also change from hug content to fixed content width whenever you want, or you add the minimum height you want and the minimum max width you need to set on your frame. But we're going to be using hug contents, which is this. Now that we have our contents hugged and all of them between space is 30, the gap is 36, we come back to horizontally align them to the center. Since we've done that, look at it. One of this is actually black, and the others have stroke, and the fill is looking like the background. So to do that, first we have this, right? But if we are to put a fill to this, we'll be putting a fill on the frame and not the object inside it. Notice that. So to do justice to that, you need to go in here, double click, or you highlight this, you go to your layers panel and you highlight all you want. And once you've done that, you can go down to the fill and take your sample color and you sample the colors. You can go to your stroke like before, and now you set it to as we were using before. Make sure you always use the same stuff, the same stroke, fill, as different shade of how you've created it. So now let's make our own button middle black. So I'm changing this fill to black. So as you can see, we've created 2 screens already, right? Now we have the space in between these two. To do that, just drag, and now we have this space. All right, we have more than one screen. I don't want to make this video long, but from the structure I just created, I'm sure you can be able to replicate more and more wireframe. But let's just do one extra. What do you think? Let's do one extra. But before that, let's talk about the arrow. This arrow you see here is used to show a prototype, a flow. And most times, like I said before in class, it's used for prototyping. You can have a low fidelity wireframe prototype, you can have a high fidelity wireframe prototype, and you can have a full app ready prototype. Prototype can be used in almost everywhere to show a flow. So how do we make a low fidelity prototype? You can go to the prototype options and create a prototype, but this is a low fidelity. We don't just put a prototype directly to it. The type of prototypes that are usually used for a low fidelity wireframe are arrows, indicating from this screen we move to this screen. We go to our arrow screen, our arrow, as you can see, Shift L, or you click on arrow. So when I click on that, I can come here and just draw an arrow and hold my shift to hold it. Now I have an arrow, showing you that to move from this screen to this screen, this arrow is positioned for it. If it was another screen, you can still do the same thing. All right, so now, and let's duplicate again this screen. And we have to drag it to align with the other. Now we remove our circle as usual, and we have an empty screen. So now we have this, right? We can reuse our elements. Like I said before, this element is reusable. You duplicate, you drag, and you place. Whatever thing you drag from an outside to bring inside literally enters into the frame, this main frame, right? So when I move this frame, it moves with it. But if it was outside, if I move this frame, it's not there. All right, so now we have this. First, check the space. We have 80, size 45. So ours is different. Remember, we are using a different frame. So we're going to be checking up. We have 84, now we have 80 because I use the arrow key to move it up by holding my option or alt key. So now next on our list is drawing these rectangles here. Double click and double click again. So the frame here is the rectangle here's width is 285 by 50. So to create mine, click on R. Now I go here to 85 by 50. Now we have ours, drag it in. The space between these two is what again? So we have the space between this and this. Okay. It seems, yeah, this is different from this. So we have 188. I did not highlight this one when I wanted to get the size in between them. I just highlighted one. You can highlight this and then you click on an alt or option, and yes, you can see 188. So from this to this is supposed to be 188. So since we've not grouped the two of them, we can highlight the two and then click on 188 here, and it will align to 188. So now looking at all the stuff here, you notice it's not looking the same. Remember, we have to put our stroke. This one has no fill, like I told you, but me, I like giving my own a fill. That was why it was hard to double click when we're double clicking, because there's no fill to actually double click it. I have to go to the stroke to double click to have to click on it. Why? That's the reason why I usually use mine with a fill. So first we change our fill to blend it in the background, and we add our stroke 2. Now that we've done that, we go back again. So now we check is 2, no fill, radius is 10. Our own 2, black, fill is blended, radius should be 10. So yeah, now we've done that. We have a line here. Yes, it's looking like a rectangle, but we are using it to describe a line, right? So what did I say before? You could use this or not. It's your choice. So let's draw ours, right? Now, because we don't, from the looks of it, this and this right up is two different things. This is a one line right up, and it's the weight of the right up. We don't want it to look the same as this, right? So we're going to be going with 165, 3. Width is 165, height is 3. So we draw our rectangle, and then we go to 165, and height is 3. So we have our line here. Centralize, and fill should be black. So now we've done that. Now if you go here, you can check the spacing between this is 20, right? So we're gonna highlight this and highlight this, change the spacing between 20, and notice that this 2 here is the same thing as having this 3 here. So what do? We highlight this, and we duplicate, Control D or Command D, and we drag it down. So now we have this. We are missing one extra line down beneath here. We click on this, you duplicate, you bring it down, same thing. So Now we have this. So there's no difference. This is supposed to show you the profile category. After categorizing yourself, it shows you your profile pic, right? So we have some little write up below. Now to create our auto layout, do not forget to put your objects in your auto layout so it doesn't get scattered. I highlight this, and this, and I click on Shift A, or you go to your toggle. And just like that, we've almost created the whole screen. Now this is a button. This is supposed to represent a button, right? So in this aspect, the button size is 255 and 60, but it's a rectangle. So now note we have 265 with height 60. We go back to our screen, click on our rectangle, 265, 255. So change this to 255 by 60. And there we have our button centralized. Since we have centralized it, this one's corner radius is 30 and fill is black. 30, fill, black. So the space between this and here is 62. Space between this here is 61. We've increased it to 62. So now we have our button aligned, text and frames and our icon, right? So the screen is complete. Is it? No. Do not forget to always put everything in an auto layout to not get it scattered or misarranged by mistake. Keep things in order. It also helps the developer know exactly what they are doing. So we're going to be doing Shift A again. But to do that, first you need to do this and this. Shift A, and yeah, you now put auto layout in the remaining one. Notice we have first here and then this one, and you click on this and this, Shift A again, and there you have it. We are done with the second screen. The third screen, please. So the next screen was supposed to go, the arrow is supposed to go from this box to this. So I click on this box, but to preview it, we use our arrow from here and highlight it to here. So yeah, that is that, and I will see you in the next class. Your assignment is to recreate all this wireframe and submit. I will be sharing the wireframe link to the Figma. Thank you.